What if I told you that while the world debates renewable energy and electric vehicles, they're completely missing the nuclear renaissance that's quietly reshaping global power dynamics? And what happens when everyone realizes that the key to powering artificial intelligence, medical treatments, and climate solutions isn't controlled by oil kingdoms or tech giants, but by one country that most people associate with peace and politeness? Most people don't know that Canada has quietly become the emperor of the nuclear world. We control 23% of global uranium production, making us the second largest supplier of the fuel that powers nuclear reactors worldwide. Our CANDU reactor technology operates in 30 countries. We produce 40% of the world's medical isotopes that save lives in hospitals globally. But here's what should reshape every energy investment. We're not just mining uranium. We're controlling the entire nuclear supply chain from mine to medicine. This isn't just about traditional nuclear power plants. We're talking about the small modular reactors that will power remote communities, the medical isotopes that treat cancer patients, and the clean energy systems that will run the artificial intelligence revolution. But here's the question that will define energy security for the next century. What happens when the nuclear future is made in Canada? This is the story of how geology, technology, and strategic policy are making Canada the undisputed emperor of the nuclear age, and why the next energy breakthrough might come from a uranium mine in northern Saskatchewan, engineered by Canadian scientists and deployed around the world. Before we examine Canada's nuclear dominance, we need to understand how dramatically the global energy landscape is shifting toward nuclear solutions. This isn't about the nuclear power of the 1970s. We're looking at advanced reactor technologies, medical applications, and space power systems that could revolutionize multiple industries simultaneously. The numbers reveal the scope of the nuclear renaissance. Global nuclear power capacity is projected to triple by 2050 as countries seek reliable, carbon-free electricity. The nuclear medicine market is growing at 9% annually and could reach $30 billion by 2030. Space nuclear power systems are becoming essential for deep space exploration and lunar operations. But traditional energy statistics don't capture the strategic importance of nuclear technology. Unlike solar panels or wind turbines, nuclear systems require decades of specialized expertise, sophisticated supply chains, and materials that exist in only a few locations worldwide. Countries that control nuclear capabilities hold influence over energy security, medical systems, and advanced technology development. The climate crisis has dramatically changed attitudes toward nuclear power. Countries that once opposed nuclear energy are now embracing it as essential for decarbonization. Germany's energy crisis following Russian gas cutoffs has triggered reconsideration of nuclear phase-out policies. Japan is restarting reactors shut down after Fukushima. China and India are building nuclear capacity faster than any other energy source. This nuclear revival is creating unprecedented demand for uranium, nuclear technology, and nuclear expertise. The uranium market, which remained depressed for over a decade, has seen prices increase by over 200% since 2020. Nuclear technology companies are attracting massive investments from governments and private markets. But perhaps most significantly, artificial intelligence is driving new demand for nuclear power that most people don't fully understand. Training large AI models requires enormous amounts of electricity consumed continuously for weeks or months. Data centers powering AI applications need reliable, carbon-free electricity that can operate 24/7 regardless of weather conditions. Tech giants like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are signing long-term agreements for nuclear power to supply their data centers. They've recognized that nuclear is the only energy source that can provide the massive, reliable, clean electricity that AI systems require. This AI nuclear connection is creating new demand that could reshape global energy markets. The space economy adds another layer of nuclear demand. Deep space missions, lunar bases, and Mars exploration all require nuclear power systems that can operate in environments where solar power is insufficient. NASA's Artemis program relies on nuclear systems for lunar operations. Mars missions will depend on nuclear reactors for power generation and life support. Now, let's examine what Canada actually controls in this nuclear renaissance. Our advantages go far beyond just having uranium deposits. We possess integrated capabilities across the entire nuclear technology spectrum that few countries can match. Let's start with uranium, the fundamental fuel of nuclear power. Canada sits atop some of the world's richest uranium deposits, concentrated primarily in Saskatchewan's Athabasca Basin. These deposits don't just contain large quantities of uranium. They contain the highest grade uranium ore found anywhere on Earth. The McArthur River mine in Saskatchewan produces uranium ore that is 100 times more concentrated than typical uranium deposits elsewhere. This extraordinary grade means Canadian uranium can be extracted more efficiently and at lower costs than uranium from other countries. When uranium prices rise, Canadian mines become exponentially more profitable than marginal operations worldwide. Cameco Corporation, based in Saskatoon, is more than just a mining company. It's effectively the central bank of the uranium market. Cameco's production decisions influence global uranium prices because Canadian output represents such a large share of world supply. When Cameco suspends production at a major mine, global uranium prices can increase by 20-30% within weeks. But our uranium advantage extends beyond just mining. Canada has developed sophisticated uranium processing and enrichment capabilities that allow us to add value to raw uranium ore, rather than simply exporting raw materials. Our uranium processing facilities in Ontario convert raw uranium into reactor fuel that powers nuclear plants worldwide. The strategic value of controlling uranium supplies has become more apparent as geopolitical tensions affect energy markets. Kazakhstan, the world's largest uranium producer, has faced political instability that threatened production. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has complicated global uranium trade relationships. Countries seeking reliable uranium supplies increasingly view Canada as the most stable long-term supplier. Our CANDU reactor technology represents another layer of nuclear dominance that most people don't fully appreciate. CANDU reactors use natural uranium rather than enriched uranium, giving countries more energy independence. They can be refueled while operating, improving efficiency and reducing maintenance costs. Currently, 31 CANDU reactors operate in 7 countries: Canada, Argentina, China, India, Pakistan, Romania, and South Korea. These reactors represent billions of dollars in Canadian technology exports and create long-term relationships with countries that depend on Canadian expertise for maintenance, fuel, and upgrades. The CANDU design offers unique advantages that are becoming more valuable as nuclear power expands globally. The ability to use natural uranium eliminates dependence on uranium enrichment facilities, which are controlled by only a few countries. The heavy water moderator system allows CANDU reactors to achieve high fuel efficiency and produce less waste than other reactor designs. India's nuclear program, which powers over 7% of the country's electricity, was built largely on Canadian CANDU technology transferred in the 1960s. Despite political complications over nuclear weapons development, India continues to operate CANDU-derived reactors and has developed indigenous reactor designs based on Canadian technology. China has built 2 CANDU reactors and is developing advanced reactor designs that incorporate CANDU principles. Argentina operates a CANDU reactor and has plans for additional units. Romania operates 2 CANDU reactors that provide about 18% of the country's electricity. This global CANDU footprint creates ongoing demand for Canadian nuclear services, spare parts, and technical expertise. Countries operating CANDU reactors must maintain relationships with Canadian nuclear companies for long-term support, creating enduring economic and diplomatic connections. Our nuclear medicine capabilities represent perhaps the most strategically important aspect of Canada's nuclear dominance. Medical isotopes produced in Canadian reactors are essential for diagnosing and treating millions of patients worldwide. We produce approximately 40% of the global supply of medical isotopes used in nuclear medicine procedures. The Chalk River reactor in Ontario has been a primary supplier of medical isotopes for decades. When this reactor was shut down for maintenance in 2007, it created a global shortage of medical isotopes that affected cancer treatments and diagnostic procedures in hospitals worldwide. This incident demonstrated Canada's critical role in global healthcare systems. Nuclear medicine procedures are growing rapidly as populations age and cancer treatments improve. Isotopes like technetium-90 are used in over 30 million medical procedures annually worldwide. Lutetium-177 is revolutionizing treatment of certain cancers. Actinium-225 shows promise for targeted cancer therapies that could transform oncology. Canada is investing in next-generation medical isotope production facilities that will maintain our global leadership in nuclear medicine. The new isotope production facilities use different reactor designs and production methods that reduce dependence on aging research reactors while increasing production capacity. To understand how this translates into geopolitical leverage, we need to look at how countries depend on Canadian nuclear capabilities and how this dependence affects international relationships. The most immediate form of leverage comes from uranium supply security. Countries operating nuclear power plants require steady, long-term uranium supplies to maintain electricity generation. Disruptions to uranium supplies can force countries to reduce nuclear power output or seek expensive alternative suppliers. Japan's experience following the Fukushima accident illustrates this vulnerability. When Japan shut down most of its nuclear reactors, the country had to import massive quantities of natural gas and oil to replace nuclear electricity. This energy import dependence cost Japan over $100 billion increased the country's greenhouse gas emissions significantly. As Japan restarts its nuclear reactors, securing reliable uranium supplies has become a national security priority. Japanese utilities are signing long-term contracts with Canadian uranium producers to ensure supply security. Similar dynamics are playing out in South Korea, which generates about 24% of its electricity from nuclear power. European countries face uranium supply challenges as they reduce dependence on Russian nuclear fuel. Before the Ukraine war, Russia supplied about 20% of global uranium and controlled significant portions of uranium enrichment services. European nuclear operators are now seeking alternative suppliers, with Canadian companies emerging as preferred partners. France, which generates about 70% of its electricity from nuclear power, is particularly focused on diversifying uranium supplies away from potentially unreliable sources. French nuclear companies are investing in Canadian uranium mines and processing facilities to secure long-term supply relationships. The medical isotope supply chain creates different forms of dependence. Hospitals worldwide depend on Canadian isotope production for essential diagnostic and treatment procedures. Medical isotopes have very short half-lives, meaning they must be produced continuously and delivered quickly to remain effective. This creates time-sensitive supply chains where Canadian production facilities must coordinate with hospitals globally to ensure patients receive treatments when needed. Countries that lack domestic isotope production capabilities are completely dependent on Canadian suppliers for essential medical procedures. The strategic leverage extends beyond just commercial relationships. Countries seeking to develop nuclear power programs often require Canadian expertise, technology, and training. Nuclear power development requires decades of specialized knowledge that can't be developed quickly or easily. Canada's nuclear training programs educate engineers, operators, and regulators from countries worldwide. The University of Ontario Institute of Technology, McMaster University, and other Canadian institutions provide nuclear education that builds long-term relationships with international nuclear professionals. I want to pause here because this raises a critical question that I'd love to hear your thoughts on. As nuclear power becomes more important for climate goals and energy security, should Canada use our nuclear dominance to maximum economic advantage? Or should we prioritize helping the world access clean nuclear energy, regardless of political relationships? This choice will define Canada's role in global decarbonization efforts and could affect everything from our diplomatic relationships to our domestic energy costs. What's your perspective on how Canada should leverage our nuclear capabilities? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Beyond traditional nuclear power and medical applications, Canada is positioned to lead the development of advanced nuclear technologies that could reshape multiple industries over the coming decades. Small modular reactors represent one of the most promising frontiers in nuclear technology. SMRs are factory-built reactor systems that can be deployed in remote locations, industrial sites, or communities that lack access to large-scale electricity grids. These systems could revolutionize how nuclear power is deployed globally. Canadian companies are leaders in SMR development. Terrestrial Energy is developing molten salt reactor technology that could provide both electricity and industrial heat for manufacturing processes. Moltex Energy is working on stable salt reactor designs that use nuclear waste as fuel while producing electricity. The federal government has committed significant funding to SMR development and deployment. The SMR Action Plan involves collaboration between federal and provincial governments, nuclear companies, and research institutions to accelerate SMR commercialization. SMRs could provide power for remote mining operations, northern communities, industrial processes, and even space applications. They represent opportunities for Canadian companies to export advanced nuclear technology to countries worldwide while maintaining technological leadership in next-generation nuclear systems. Nuclear hydrogen production represents another frontier, where Canada's nuclear capabilities could drive industrial transformation. Advanced nuclear reactors can provide the high-temperature heat needed for efficient hydrogen production through thermochemical processes. Hydrogen produced using nuclear energy could be completely carbon-free, addressing one of the major challenges in hydrogen economy development. Nuclear hydrogen could fuel transportation systems, industrial processes, and electricity storage while reducing greenhouse gas emissions across multiple sectors. Canadian nuclear companies are developing reactor designs specifically optimized for hydrogen production. These systems could produce both electricity and hydrogen, maximizing the value extracted from nuclear fuel while supporting decarbonization across multiple economic sectors. Space nuclear power represents perhaps the most futuristic application of Canadian nuclear expertise. NASA and other space agencies are developing nuclear power systems for lunar bases, Mars missions, and deep space exploration. These applications require specialized reactor designs that can operate in extreme environments. Canadian nuclear expertise, developed through decades of CANDU reactor operation and research reactor programs, provides foundation knowledge for space nuclear systems. Canadian companies are partnering with international space agencies to develop nuclear power systems for space applications. The combination of uranium resources, reactor technology, and nuclear expertise positions Canada to be a major supplier of space nuclear systems as the space economy expands. This could create new export markets while advancing Canadian space technology capabilities. However, maintaining Canada's nuclear leadership requires continued investment in technology development, workforce training, and international partnerships that many Canadians don't fully appreciate. Nuclear technology development requires sustained research and development over decades. Unlike software or consumer technologies, nuclear systems must demonstrate safety and reliability over extended periods before deployment. This requires patient capital and long-term government support. Canadian nuclear research institutions need continued funding to maintain leadership in advanced reactor designs, fuel cycle technologies, and safety systems. The Chalk River Laboratories, Canadian nuclear laboratories, and university research programs provide the foundation for nuclear innovation. Workforce development is critical for maintaining nuclear expertise. Nuclear engineering requires specialized education and training that takes years to develop. Canada needs educational programs that can supply the skilled professionals needed for expanding nuclear industries. International partnerships are essential for deploying Canadian nuclear technologies globally. Nuclear projects often require government-to-government agreements, regulatory cooperation, and diplomatic support. Canada needs trade policies that facilitate nuclear technology exports while maintaining non-proliferation commitments. Regulatory frameworks must balance safety with innovation to enable advanced nuclear technologies. Canada's nuclear regulatory system has strong safety credentials, but it must adapt to evaluate new reactor designs and applications while maintaining public confidence. If you're finding this analysis of Canada's nuclear transformation valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue producing in-depth analysis of the energy and geopolitical trends that are reshaping our world. The nuclear renaissance represents one of the most significant shifts in global energy systems since the discovery of oil. Countries that achieve leadership in nuclear technology will influence global energy security, medical capabilities, and advanced industrial development for decades to come. Canada possesses nuclear capabilities that span the entire industry from uranium mining to advanced reactor design to medical isotope production. Our combination of natural resources, technological expertise, and stable regulatory environment creates advantages that few countries can replicate. But possessing these capabilities is not the same as leveraging them strategically. Canada needs to make conscious decisions about how to use our nuclear dominance to build prosperity, enhance energy security, and contribute to global decarbonization efforts. The next decade will be critical for establishing our role in the global nuclear economy. The investments and policies we implement now will determine whether Canada becomes the dominant force in nuclear technology or simply provides raw materials for other countries' nuclear industries. The choices we make will affect not just our energy sector, but our entire economy as nuclear technology becomes integrated into artificial intelligence, space exploration, medical systems, and industrial processes. Countries that fall behind in nuclear capabilities will face increasing disadvantages across multiple sectors. Friends, we are living through the emergence of nuclear technology as a cornerstone of 21st century civilization. While the world debates renewable energy percentages and battery storage costs, the real transformation may be happening in nuclear reactors that provide reliable, carbon-free power for artificial intelligence, medical treatments, and space exploration. Canada has been dealt an exceptional hand in this nuclear renaissance. Our uranium provides the fuel for nuclear reactors worldwide. Our CANDU technology powers electricity generation in 7 countries. Our medical isotopes save lives in hospitals globally. Our research capabilities drive innovation in next-generation nuclear systems. The question is not whether Canada can become a major power in the nuclear economy. We already are the major power. The question is whether we'll have the vision and commitment to leverage this nuclear dominance strategically, building prosperity while helping the world access clean, reliable nuclear energy. The atoms are splitting, the isotopes are being produced, and the future of clean energy and advanced medicine is being written in nuclear facilities around the world. Canada has the uranium to fuel that future, the technology to enable its deployment, and the opportunity to benefit from its applications. What we do with this nuclear opportunity will determine not just our role in global energy markets, but our ability to influence international affairs in a world where nuclear technology shapes everything from climate solutions to space exploration to medical breakthroughs. The nuclear renaissance is here, and it runs on Canadian uranium, Canadian technology, and Canadian expertise. The question is whether we'll rule this atomic age wisely. Thank you for joining me for this exploration of Canada's nuclear empire. What aspects of our nuclear dominance do you think are most important for our future? Should we prioritize domestic energy benefits or focus on nuclear technology exports? Share your insights below, and I'll see you in the next analysis of the forces shaping our nuclear future.